The Great Buenos Aires Bank Heist. The story begins with Fernando Araujo, a man haunted by a previous botched bank robbery in Ramallo that had ended in tragedy and violence. Determined to execute the perfect heist without bloodshed, Araujo conceived what would become known as Argentina's heist of the century. A plan so audacious and meticulously crafted that it would make him and his crew folk heroes across the nation. The genesis of an impossible plan. In the quiet, affluent suburb of Acassuso, just north of Buenos Aires, stood a branch of Banco, a fortress of concrete and steel that housed millions of dollars in cash and valuables within 147 individual safety deposit boxes. To most, it appeared impregnable. To Fernando Araujo, it represented the ultimate challenge and a chance at redemption. Araujo's obsession with the perfect heist stemmed from a traumatic experience during a previous bank robbery attempt in Ramallo that had ended in violence and tragedy. Fernando Araujo wanted to avoid the circumstances that occurred during the disaster at Ramallo. So he came up with the audacious plan to tunnel underneath a bank and escape without any violence committed. This haunting memory drove him to conceive what would become Argentina's heist of the century. A plan so audacious and meticulously crafted that it would be executed without a single shot fired or person harmed. Araujo's vision was revolutionary. Instead of the traditional smash-and-grab approach that often ended in violence, he would create an elaborate theatrical performance above ground, while conducting the real robbery below. The key lay not in overpowering the bank's visible defenses, but in what lay beneath it, the labyrinthine sewer system that snaked through Buenos Aires like arteries beneath the city's skin, assembling the perfect crew. Fernando Araujo's first and most critical challenge was assembling a crew capable of executing such an unprecedented heist. The recruitment process was both delicate and dangerous. He needed specialists with specific skills while maintaining absolute secrecy and ensuring loyalty. The engineer connection, Araujo's breakthrough, came through his friendship with Garcia Bolster, a 40-year-old engineer whom he had known for years. He then enlisted his good friend, engineer whose technical expertise would prove invaluable. Bolster, nicknamed the Martian for his methodical, almost alien-like precision, was the key to making the tunnel scheme feasible. His engineering background provided the technical foundation for what would become the most sophisticated tunnel operation in criminal history. The veteran criminal, Alberto Beto de la Torre, a 56-year-old seasoned criminal, brought essential experience in managing high-stress criminal situations. His role would be crucial in hostage management and crowd control during the operation. De la Torre's calm demeanor and experience with previous robberies made him the perfect candidate for handling the psychological pressure of a prolonged hostage situation. The smooth negotiator, Mario Vitet. Excellence was recruited for his exceptional communication skills and charismatic presence. Known later as the man in the gray suit, Sellens would serve as the primary negotiator with police during the standoff. His ability to remain calm under pressure and maintain believable dialogue with authorities was essential to the plan's success. The supporting cast and other associates were carefully selected for their specific technical skills and unwavering loyalty. The recruitment extended beyond the core crew to include engineers, mechanics, and construction workers who would help build the tunnel system, a 2-year obsession. The daring robbery was part of a meticulously crafted 2-year plan that would push the boundaries of criminal innovation. The planning phase was extraordinary in its scope and duration, requiring the crew to overcome numerous technical, logistical, and security challenges. The crew conducted extensive reconnaissance over many months. Bank operations study. They spent countless hours studying the bank's daily routines, shift changes, security protocols, and customer patterns. Every detail was cataloged, from the number of employees working different shifts to the timing of armored car deliveries. Underground mapping. The team mapped the surrounding sewer system in minute detail, studying Buenos Aires' extensive underground infrastructure. They analyzed city blueprints, drainage plans, and historical construction documents to understand the complex network beneath the streets. Geological analysis. They studied the geological composition of the soil they would need to tunnel through, determining the best digging techniques and required support structures. Police response patterns. The crew timed police response patterns to various incidents in the area, calculating how long they would have before authorities arrived and how the standoff would likely unfold. Major planning challenges. The engineering challenge. Creating a tunnel over 150 meters long presented enormous technical difficulties. Calculating precise angles and gradients to avoid detection by city utilities. Ensuring structural integrity to prevent collapse during construction and use. Managing water infiltration from Buenos Aires' storm drain system. Installing proper ventilation for extended underground work. Planning for the transportation of both heavy equipment and later stolen valuables. The timing dilemma. Coordinating the surface operation with the underground heist required split-second timing. The hostage situation had to last long enough for the vault operation to be completed. Police attention had to remain focused on the bank's main floor throughout the operation. The escape had to be executed while maintaining the illusion of ongoing negotiations. The security challenge. Avoiding detection during the months-long preparation phase. Accessing the sewer system for construction without arousing suspicion. Transporting equipment and materials without detection. Managing noise and vibration from tunnel construction. Ensuring that construction debris was properly disposed of. The psychological challenge. Maintaining crew morale and secrecy over 2 years. Managing the stress of prolonged planning without action. Preventing information leaks from crew members or their associates. Ensuring all participants remained committed despite the extended timeline technical preparations. The crew brought on professional engineers and mechanics specifically for the construction phase, treating the operation like a legitimate construction project. They analyzed blueprints of both the bank and the city's underground infrastructure, calculated precise angles and distances for their tunnel network, sourced professional-grade excavation equipment without raising suspicion, developed contingency plans for various construction obstacles, created detailed schedules for both the construction and execution phases, the underground engineering marvel. The most remarkable aspect of their plan was the sophisticated tunnel system that took months to construct. The criminal gang had been planning their epic escape for several months, bringing on engineers and mechanics to create what was essentially an underground highway to freedom. Working under cover of darkness over many weeks, the crew accessed Buenos Aires' storm drain and sewer network. The tunnel they constructed was an engineering masterpiece, measuring over 150 meters in length. It required professional-grade excavation equipment, structural reinforcement, and precise surveying to ensure it reached the exact location beneath the bank's vault. The engineering challenges were immense. They had to calculate precise angles and gradients to avoid detection by city utilities, install proper ventilation systems for extended underground work, reinforce tunnel walls to prevent collapse during construction and use, create multiple access and exit points throughout the sewer system, install lighting and communication systems for coordination during the heist, waterproof sections to prevent flooding from the storm drain system, plan for the transportation of heavy equipment, and later the stolen valuables. The tunnel served a dual purpose as both entry point and escape route. The crew created a secret highway that would allow them to vanish completely. With multiple contingency routes mapped throughout Buenos Aires' extensive underground infrastructure, they even prepared inflatable boats that would allow them to navigate through storm drains if necessary, demonstrating the thoroughness of their planning. The day of reckoning, January 13th, 2006, at precisely the right moment on that summer Friday. 6 men walked calmly into the Banco branch in Acassuso. They were dressed professionally, carrying what appeared to be weapons, but were actually sophisticated replicas. The choice of fake weapons was deliberate. Araujo insisted on a non-violent heist. The robbers immediately took control of the bank, securing 23 hostages, including customers and employees. They moved with practiced precision, having rehearsed every movement. Within minutes, they had transformed the bank into a stage for what would become one of the most watched standoffs in Argentine history. What happened next was pure theater, orchestrated to perfection. While some members of the crew engaged with hostages and prepared for the inevitable police response, others immediately began the real work, accessing the basement through their pre-planned tunnel route and systematically emptying the safety deposit boxes. The robbers upstairs played their roles with professional precision. They created exactly the right amount of commotion and concern to ensure maximum police response. Bringing 200 officers to surround the building, while their colleagues worked methodically below in complete silence. The surface operation was carefully calibrated, dramatic enough to capture complete police attention, but controlled enough to prevent any escalation that might lead to a premature breach. The hostage situation was managed with surprising professionalism. The robbers treated the 23 hostages with respect, ensuring their safety while maintaining the illusion of a traditional bank robbery. This careful balance was crucial. They needed the hostages to remain calm, while the police remained focused on the standoff above ground. In one of the most memorable moments of the heist, the robbers negotiated an unusual exchange with police, demanding pizza and sodas in return for releasing some hostages. This seemingly whimsical request served multiple purposes. It extended the timeline, demonstrated their control of the situation, provided a perfect cover for the increasing activity in the basement below. The systematic vault operation, in the basement, operating with industrial efficiency and professional precision. The crew accessed 147 individual safety deposit boxes. This was not random looting. They had studied the bank's client records and knew exactly where the most valuable deposits were located. The operation required sophisticated tools and extensive knowledge of bank security systems. The systematic approach was remarkable. They used professional drilling equipment to access the boxes, worked methodically through the vault, emptying contents into prepared containers, cataloged valuable items for efficient transport through the tunnel system, maintained communication with the surface team to coordinate timing, prepared the stolen goods for transport through the narrow underground passages. The haul was extraordinary. An estimated $15 to $19 million in cash, jewelry, precious metals, important documents, and other valuables. The operation took hours to complete, requiring both physical stamina and mental focus while working in the confined underground space. The crew even left behind a note that would become part of the heist's legend, saying they stole money, not love, a whimsical touch that demonstrated their confidence and added to the theatrical nature of the entire operation. The Vanishing Act. After 7 hours of apparent negotiations and standoff, the moment came for the impossible. While police maintained their perimeter around the building with 200 officers, convinced they had the robbers completely trapped, the crew executed their disappearing act with clockwork precision. They slipped through their tunnel system like ghosts, moving through the carefully constructed underground network with their massive haul. The escape route led them through the elaborate tunnel system, into Buenos Aires' storm drain and sewer network, and eventually to predetermined exit points far from the police cordon. The logistics of the escape were as impressive as the heist itself. The crew had to transport millions of dollars worth of cash and valuables through narrow underground passages, navigate through storm drains using inflatable boats when necessary, and emerge at multiple exit points throughout the city to avoid detection. Each crew member had specific escape routes and rally points, ensuring that even if some were discovered, others could complete the getaway. By the time authorities realized what had happened, the robbers had completely vanished into the vast underground network beneath Buenos Aires. The escape was so perfectly executed despite all the obstacles that it took police several hours to even understand how it had been accomplished. The crew's ability to overcome these numerous challenges during the escape phase demonstrated remarkable adaptability and crisis management under extreme pressure. Challenges that nearly resulted in capture. Environmental obstacles. Recent heavy rains had significantly raised water levels in the storm drain system. The tunnel led to a storm drain system that was partially flooded, requiring the use of inflatable boats. Navigation through the underground maze was complicated by poor visibility and rising water. Several planned exit points were inaccessible due to flooding, forcing the use of backup routes, logistical nightmares. Transporting millions of dollars worth of cash and valuables through narrow, flooded underground passages proved extremely difficult. The crew had to make multiple trips through the tunnel system. Increasing exposure risk, heavy bags of stolen goods repeatedly tore or became waterlogged during transport. The inflatable boats could only carry limited weight, requiring careful load management, timing pressures. The escape had to be completed while police still believed negotiations were ongoing. Weather forecasts predicted heavier rains that would make the tunnel system impassable. The crew had to coordinate multiple simultaneous escapes through different exit points. Surface traffic patterns affected access to predetermined pickup locations. Technical failures. Communication equipment failed in the flooded conditions, breaking contact between team members. Emergency lighting systems were compromised by water. Infiltration backup breathing apparatus was needed when tunnel air quality deteriorated. Navigation equipment became unreliable in the underground environment near capture incidents. At one exit point, city workers conducting emergency flood management nearly discovered escaping crew members. Police patrol patterns had changed due to the bank situation,
all night,
creating unexpected encounters. Several crew members became temporarily lost in the maze-like sewer system equipment failures, forced some team members to surface earlier than planned at suboptimal locations, surface emergence. Several exit points were under surveillance due to the general police activity in the area. The crew had to emerge from sewers in populated areas without attracting attention. Stolen goods had to be quickly transferred to waiting vehicles. Despite being water damaged, team members had to clean themselves and change clothes quickly to avoid appearing suspicious. The pizza order, in a stroke of criminal genius that would become legendary. The robber's final act was ordering pizza during the standoff. When the pizza delivery arrived and police finally decided to storm the bank after the suspicious quiet from inside, they found a scene that defied belief. The hostages were safe and unharmed, sitting calmly in the bank's main floor. The pizza boxes remained on tables, still warm from recent delivery. But the robbers had vanished completely. Not just from the building, but seemingly from existence itself. There were no back doors used, no windows broken, no signs of how 6 armed men could simply disappear from a completely surrounded building. The discovery of the tunnel system took investigators several more days. When they finally located the entry point in the sewer system and traced the route to the bank's basement, the full scope and audacity of the plan became clear. The basement showed signs of extensive methodical work. The 147 safety deposit boxes had been systematically opened and emptied, requiring hours of careful professional work that had occurred while police surrounded the building above. The thieves had left a few things behind. Detectives found a battery pack, a tool that they surmised had been used to crack the boxes, a row of toy guns laid neatly on the floor, and a note taped to the wall above the toys. It was handwritten and must have seemed like a taunt. In a neighborhood of rich people without weapons or grudges, it's just money, not love. The investigation? The Buenos Aires Police Department faced an unprecedented situation. It surrounded a bank with 200 officers, maintained a perimeter for hours, and somehow allowed 6 armed robbers to disappear into thin air. The initial investigation was chaos. How could seasoned criminals simply vanish from a completely surrounded building? It took investigators several days to discover the tunnel system. When they finally located the entry point in the sewer system and traced the route to the bank's basement, the audacity of the plan became clear. The robbers had spent weeks preparing an elaborate underground escape route that bypassed all conventional security measures. The crime scene told a story of meticulous planning, investigators found. Sophisticated tools used to access the safety deposit boxes, evidence of the tunnel construction and reinforcement. Fingerprints and DNA evidence from the prolonged occupation of the bank. Security footage that captured the robbers' faces. Clearly, financial investigators began tracking the stolen items. The challenge was enormous. Much of the haul consisted of jewelry, artwork, and other valuables that could be easily altered or sold in international markets. Some cash was traceable through serial numbers, but the bulk of the fortune had effectively vanished. Despite the sophistication of the heist, the investigation eventually began to close in on the perpetrators. The breakthrough came through a combination of forensic evidence, surveillance footage, and witness testimony. The robbers had been captured clearly on security cameras, and their extended presence in the bank during the 7-hour standoff provided investigators with extensive evidence. The police investigation focused on several key leads: fingerprints and DNA evidence left throughout the bank and tunnel system. His previous criminal history and connections to other sophisticated heists made him a prime suspect. Garcia Bolster. The 40-year-old engineer was identified through the technical aspects of the tunnel construction and his professional background. Alberto de la Torre, the 56-year-old, was connected through witness testimony and forensic evidence from the bank. Mario Vitet Salens. However, the reality of the Argentine prison system meant that none of the convicted robbers served their full sentences. Fernando Araujo served only 1.5 years. Behind bars, Bolster served 25 months in prison plus 2 years under house arrest. Alberto de la Torre served 8.5 years, the longest of any crew member. Mario Vitet Salens served approximately 3 years. All the main perpetrators have since been released and are now free. The nonviolent nature of the heist and the robbers' treatment of hostages influenced the court's decisions. The crew had stolen an estimated $19 million, but only a fraction was ever recovered. The bulk of the fortune remained hidden, likely distributed among the crew members who had successfully escaped Argentina. Fernando Araujo's fate. The mastermind Fernando Araujo faced the most serious charges, but even his legal resolution was complex. The Great Buenos Aires Bank Heist transcended typical criminal stories. It became a symbol of outsmarting authority, of careful planning, triumphing over brute force, and of criminals who achieve their goals without violence. The story continues to fascinate people worldwide, representing the ultimate heist executed with intelligence rather than aggression. Epilogue today. The Banco heist remains one of the most studied criminal cases in South American history. The crew became more than a fortunate made them folk heroes, their legend growing with each retelling of their impossible escape from the surrounded bank in Acassuso. The Great Buenos Aires Bank Heist stands as a testament to criminal ingenuity, a perfect storm of planning, execution, and audacity that may never be replicated, ensuring its place in the annals of the world's greatest heists. Subscribe for this and many more stories.